The government moves to help first-time buyers. No comfort yet if you rent. A witness in a drugs-related manslaughter trial is shot and wounded. The meeting was significant. The mood was constructive, and they'll talk again. A detective Garda is jailed for dangerous driving causing death. Good evening and welcome. The government has announced a new initiative to tackle the housing crisis. It comes in response to the Bacon 2 report and was made by the Taoiseach and Minister of State Bobby Malloy. The way has been cleared for the construction of up to 16,000 houses in North County Dublin by agreeing to the use of temporary sewage facilities. There's also to be additional investment in infrastructure, and measures are promised which will reduce delays in the planning process. The government has made no decision on a recommendation to increase the tax allowance for rent.
Last April, the Bacon report promised urgent action on the housing crisis. According to its author, launching his second report today, it has had an effect. The number of new houses built last year was the highest ever, up 9%, and the number of planning permissions was up 31%. But to no one's surprise, prices are still rising. New homes in Dublin rose by a quarter, nationally by 23%. Second-hand houses rose by 27% in Dublin and 29% nationally. Still, a year ago, increases were as high as 40%. But supply is still the issue. One of the main initiatives announced today was an agreement to allow houses to be built in North County Dublin using temporary sewage facilities.
Well, I think the proposal in there that releases 373 hectares of zoned land for residential development immediately, that will release about 16,000 houses, which is almost 2 years' supply in the Dublin area.
The Department of the Environment says this wouldn't mean overground pipes, but a standalone sewage plant. The government has also promised action in other areas of infrastructure, such as better transport access to Dublin from other towns. But curbing the growth of the city is also on the agenda.
There will be towns that will be targeted there with facilities provided in them in order to make them an attractive place to live. The transport corridors will be used for promotion of housing development and the same in other parts of the country in order to ensure that we get balanced regional development in Ireland.
The first Bacon report was designed to instill confidence. Apart from the windfall of 16,000 potential new houses in Dublin, Bacon Mark II focuses on the nitty-gritty of planning and infrastructure, areas that make slow progress but that need to be tackled. Margaret Ward, RTE News, Government Buildings.
And staying with that report, the government has also agreed in principle to establish a commission on security of tenure for people living in rented accommodation, but it has made no decision on a recommendation to increase tax relief on rental payments.
Mark Murphy is a mechanical engineer and his German partner Ulrike Bubel is a bilingual secretary. They have a 10-week-old daughter. The couple rent a small one-bed apartment in Rathmines in Dublin for £450 a month. They're moving shortly to a rented house in Bray for £600.
Well, of course, we feel completely exploited because we've just moved back to Ireland 2 years ago, and basically what you're working for is your basics, your food, clothing and shelter. Now you've got to spend every penny you earn on those, and you'll never have a chance to buy a house because you can't save a penny.
When we were living in Berlin we paid 600 marks for a 48 square meter flat with a balcony, really bright flat and really nice.
How much is that in pounds?
That would be about £250, £300, I think.
240, yeah.
And I mean, if you compare this with here, like we're paying £450 here and it's not half as nice.
Accommodation in the private rental sector in Dublin has escalated by an average of 25% in the past year. Apartments are fetching even higher rents, with £500 a month being the average starting price for a one-bed apartment. The government has made no decision on today's proposals to increase tax allowances for people living in rented accommodation. But there is an agreement in principle to establish a commission on security of tenure in the rented sector.
But security of tenure is an absolutely crucial issue for people. At present, the vast majority of people in private rented housing are on monthly tenancies. So from month to month, they can't guarantee that they're going to be living there, and they can't guarantee what the rent level is going to be. So a security of tenure that protected people and protected the rent levels to some degree and allowed people to plan for the future would be a massive and very welcomed improvement in private rented housing.
Meanwhile, the announcement that the government has given the go-ahead for the building of 16,000 new houses in North County Dublin has been broadly welcomed.
I think what has been done today is a radical move that's going to bring short-term solutions to this quite serious problem.
Teresa Mannion, RTÉ News, Dublin.
A man who is due to testify in a drugs-related manslaughter trial is the